What did you just say? Maya was explaining the significance of a contemporary installation to Manhattan's elite art collectors when her husband, whose marriage to her she'd kept hidden for 8 months, appeared behind the intoxicated hedge fund manager currently calling her sweetheart and said in a voice that froze the entire room, "Remove your hand from my wife." Welcome to a world where forbidden love collides with dangerous obsession. If you crave stories about hidden marriages, territorial men, and the kind of consuming passion that defies every rule, smash that subscribe button. Hit like if you're ready for this journey, and tell us in the comments what you're doing right now and where you're watching from. Late night reading? Coffee break at work? We want to connect with our romance community. Maya had perfected the subtle art of professional distance. In Manhattan's competitive contemporary art world, it was survival armor. As lead curator at the distinguished Apex Gallery in Chelsea, she'd mastered deflecting wealthy patrons who mistook her expertise for availability. Tonight's showcase, featuring breakthrough Korean-American artists, was executing flawlessly, which typically meant disaster lurked nearby. She navigated the crowd with practiced elegance, her emerald silk gown sophisticated yet understated, her natural hair styled in an elegant updo. The gallery vibrated with ideal energy, champagne circulating, animated conversations, the artwork commanding reverence. 300 guests, including Manhattan's art aristocracy and several influential Korean business figures. 8 months of meticulous preparation manifesting perfectly. Her phone vibrated. One text arrived. Maya's heart accelerated though her expression remained composed. She scanned the space, noting unfamiliar security personnel positioned near the VIP area. More than standard. All Korean men in tailored suits, their posture unmistakably professional. He'd sent additional protection despite her protests that it wasn't required. Maya, darling. She pivoted to find Daniel Morrison advancing, scotch in hand, cologne announcing him from yards away. The hedge fund manager had been pursuing her relentlessly for months, oblivious to every polite rejection she'd deployed. "Mr. Morrison," she maintained professional warmth tinged with distance. "I'm pleased you attended. The Lee installation you inquired about is in the West Gallery. I'm more interested in private consultations." He stepped closer, his hand claiming her elbow. "Perhaps dinner. Just us. Somewhere intimate." Maya extracted her arm smoothly, muscle memory from countless similar encounters. "I maintain strict boundaries between personal and professional, Mr. Morrison. However, I'm available for gallery consultations during business hours." Playing coy. His smile sharpened, alcohol fueling his boldness. "Come on, sweetheart. You've been rejecting me for months. One drink when this wraps up. What's the harm? I'm not playing anything." She retreated a step, seeking an exit strategy. "And I'm not your sweetheart. I'm a professional executing my responsibilities." His hand landed on her lower back, possessive and unwelcome. "Don't be difficult, beautiful. I could become an extremely valuable patron. Very generous to curators who demonstrate friendliness." The gallery's temperature seemed to plummet. Maya sensed it before witnessing anything, that atmospheric shift preceding a storm. Security personnel straightened imperceptibly. Nearby conversations faltered. She recognized what approached, her stomach knotting with dread and something else, something resembling relief that she refused to acknowledge. "Remove your hand." The voice emerged from behind Daniel, low and textured with an accent that transformed English into a warning. Daniel turned, irritation flashing before freezing as he registered his observer. Park Jae stood 3 feet away, and Maya's treacherous heart lurched. He towered over Daniel by several inches, his frame broader despite his immaculately tailored black suit. His hair was styled severely back, emphasizing the sharp architecture of his face and the thin scar bisecting his left eyebrow. But the tattoo commanded attention, intricate ink visible above his collar, climbing his neck in patterns that unmistakably marked him as Korean mob hierarchy. "I'm simply conversing with the lady." Daniel attempted dismissive but achieved nervous. He hadn't removed his hand from Maya's back. Park Jae's eyes, dark, cold, absolutely focused, traveled from Daniel's face to where his hand rested on Maya. Something lethal flickered in that gaze. That's not a lady. His voice remained quiet, but carried across the suddenly silent space. That's my wife. The words detonated. Daniel's hand jerked away from Maya as if scorched. Your wife? I had no idea she was married. I didn't mean. What did you say? Park Jae advanced a step as Daniel retreated too. Before that. What did you call her? Maya found her voice, though strained. Jae, not here. His hand rose, not touching her but close enough that she felt the heat radiating from his palm. A gesture commanding weight without words. His focus never shifted from Daniel. You called her sweetheart. You placed your hands on her. On my wife. I apologize. I didn't know. Daniel was backing toward the exit, face flushed crimson. You shouldn't require knowledge of marriage to keep your hands to yourself. Park Jae's English was flawless, his sole accent subtle but present. He moved forward with predatory grace. But since you require education, she is mine. She wears my ring, carries my name, shares my bed. And you touched her. Jae. Maya's voice cracked through the moment. Every single person in the gallery was observing. Her career, her carefully constructed professional reputation disintegrating in real time. Please. He finally looked at her, his expression softening fractionally. We're leaving. The exhibition has concluded for you. His hand settled on her waist, proprietary and immovable. My people will ensure your guests are properly attended. But you're accompanying me now. Maya caught sight of her assistant's shocked expression, the gallery owner's confusion, whispers spreading like wildfire. 8 months. 8 months of maintaining their marriage secret, of separating her professional world from his dangerous reality, obliterated in 30 seconds. 2 of Park Jae's security team materialized beside him. Minjun and Dae, men she'd encountered exactly twice during 8 months of marriage. Minjun, older with graying temples, spoke quietly into his phone in Korean. Dae positioned himself between them and the staring crowd. Daniel had vanished entirely, probably through the rear exit. Smart choice. Mrs. Park. The gallery owner, Veronica, approached cautiously, eyes darting between Maya and the obvious security presence. Is everything, should I be concerned? Maya opened her mouth, but Park Jae answered first. No concern for the gallery. My wife has a personal emergency. Your event will continue successfully. He nodded to Minjun, who immediately produced a phone. My team will coordinate with your staff. The evening will proceed smoothly. I can speak for myself, Maya said tightly. But Veronica was already nodding, relief evident. Of course. Take care of whatever you need, Maya. The dismissal stung worse than the exposure. Maya had dedicated 4 years to Apex, had curated 9 major exhibitions, had cultivated relationships with artists and collectors across continents. In one moment, she'd become Mrs. Park with a personal emergency. Park Jae's hand pressed more firmly against her waist, steering her toward the entrance. She felt eyes tracking their movement, heard whispers crescendoing. That's Park Jae. His family controls half of Flushing. She married him. Does she understand what he is? Maya's cheeks burned. This was precisely what she'd feared. Exactly why they'd agreed to privacy. Her world and his world didn't mix. Couldn't mix. The March air struck her as they exited onto 24th Street. A black Mercedes sedan idled at the curb, illegally parked but unbothered by the nearby traffic officer. More Korean men in suits flanked the vehicle. Get in. Park Jae opened the rear door. You can't just. Maya. He said her name like command and please simultaneously. Please. Something in his voice compelled compliance. She slid into the leather interior before reconsidering. He followed immediately, the door closing with an expensive thunk that sealed them in sudden privacy. The soundproofing was so complete that city noise vanished entirely. The driver merged smoothly into traffic. Minjun took the front passenger seat. Dae followed in a second vehicle visible through the rear window. Silence filled the space between them, thick and suffocating. Maya stared ahead, hands clenched in her lap. She felt him watching her, that intense focus she'd fallen for a year ago and had been drowning in since. You're angry, he said finally. The laugh that escaped was sharp and bitter. Angry? You just exposed our marriage to everyone I work with. Everyone in my professional circle. Do you comprehend what you've done? I protected what's mine. I'm not property. You are my wife. His voice remained maddeningly calm. That man touched you, called you sweetheart. What did you expect me to do? Not announce our marriage to 300 art world professionals. She turned to face him, finding his expression frustratingly controlled. We had an agreement, Jay. Separate lives. My career, your business, no overlap. That agreement just ended. You don't make that decision unilaterally. His jaw tightened, the only indication she was penetrating his composure. He touched you. Daniel's an idiot, but he's harmless. I was managing it. He called you sweetheart. Each word emerged separately, weighted with something dangerous. He thought he could touch you, claim you, as if you were available. As if you weren't already mine. I'm not. Maya stopped, pressing fingers to her temples. This was their circular argument from 8 months. The fundamental disconnect between his worldview and hers. You're so obsessed with possession that you can't see you just destroyed the boundaries we established to protect us both. Those boundaries were destroying us. He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. 8 months, Maya. 8 months of seeing my wife only in secret. Of you removing your ring before work. Of pretending we're not married when anyone asks. It was never sustainable. It was working fine until you decided to throw a territorial display in the middle of my exhibition. Fine? His control cracked, voice rising. You think it's been fine watching you leave my bed every morning to return to your apartment? Seeing you at events and being unable to stand beside you? Having my own wife introduce herself with her maiden name? That was our agreement. I'm changing the agreement. He leaned back against the leather seat, and for the first time she saw exhaustion in his shoulders. I'm finished hiding you. Finished pretending. That man tonight, he's not the first. He won't be the last. Not while the world doesn't know you're taken. Taken? She repeated flatly. Like I'm territory. His eyes met hers, dark and unreadable. Like you're precious. Like you're mine to protect. Yes. The Mercedes turned onto FDR Drive, heading uptown toward his penthouse, not toward her apartment in the village. Where are we going? Home. My home is with me. No room for argument in his tone. It always was. We're finished pretending otherwise. Maya's phone buzzed incessantly in her clutch. Text after text, probably from colleagues, artists, Veronica, everyone demanding answers about what just occurred. She ignored it, staring out the window as Manhattan blurred past in streaks of light and shadow. You can't just abduct me because you're experiencing feelings, she said finally, her voice hollow. I'm not abducting you. I'm taking my wife home. He shifted beside her, and she felt the heat of his proximity. And I always have feelings about you. I just stopped pretending I can control them. Control is your entire identity. Not with you. Never with you. The admission hung between them, raw and uncomfortable. Maya closed her eyes, exhaustion creeping in as adrenaline faded. 8 months of living a double life was catching up all at once. She'd met Park Jae at a funeral, his father's closest friend, a prominent Korean businessman who'd been one of her gallery's major patrons. Traditional ceremony at a beautiful Hanok building in Queens. She'd attended to represent Apex Gallery to pay respects. He'd been standing apart from mourners, devastating in a black suit, observing everything with those calculating eyes. Their introduction had been in Korean, her carefully practiced condolence phrases making his eyebrows rise in surprise. Most Korean Americans her age had lost the language completely. Her grandmother had insisted she learn. Don't forget your heritage, she'd said. Even though Maya was black, adopted at 2 by a Korean family, raised between 2 worlds. Park Jae had responded in English, his slight accent doing something stupid to her heart. They'd discussed art, tradition, belonging to 2 cultures and fitting in neither. 3 weeks later, he'd appeared at her gallery, requesting dinner. She'd agreed, despite every logical instinct screaming warnings about rumors surrounding his family's import business. 2 months after that, he'd proposed. She'd known him less than 3 months total. It was insane, reckless, completely unlike her careful, planned existence. She'd said yes anyway. They'd married quietly at the same Hanok where they'd met, just his mother and sister as witnesses. City Hall paperwork the following day. He'd wanted a large traditional wedding. Wanted to announce her to his entire organization, his extended family, all of New York's Korean community. She'd panicked, requesting time, privacy, a chance to keep her professional reputation separate from his dangerous world. He'd agreed, though she'd seen it cost him. Park Jae was possessive by nature, territorial, protective to the point of suffocation. Keeping their marriage secret contradicted every instinct he possessed. But he'd done it for her. And she'd been relieved, grateful even, to continue living her normal life. Sleeping at his penthouse 3 nights weekly, returning to her apartment the other 4, attending events separately, being just Maya the curator in all professional settings. It had seemed sustainable. Now, watching the city pass, she realized how much it must have been killing him. The Mercedes pulled into the underground garage of his building on the Upper East Side. 35 floors of luxury condominiums, his penthouse occupying the entire top level. She'd been here dozens of times, but tonight felt different. Tonight, everyone knew. Park Jae exited first, then extended his hand to help her out. A gentlemanly gesture weighted with significance. She accepted, his warm grip steady against her cold fingers. They rode the private elevator in silence. Minjun and Dae remained in the garage with the vehicles. The elevator walls were mirrored, showing her reflection, dress slightly wrinkled, makeup still flawless, hair loosening from its pins. She looked fragile, rattled. Park Jae looked carved from stone. The elevator opened directly into his penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased Central Park spreading dark and vast below. City lights glittering beyond. Modern minimalist furniture mixed with traditional Korean elements. A celadon vase here, a landscape scroll there. Her jacket hung on the coat rack by the door. Left from Tuesday night when she'd stayed over. Departed Wednesday morning at dawn for an artist meeting. Kissed him goodbye like it was temporary. Everything felt temporary in this arrangement. Perhaps that was the problem. Park Jae shrugged off his suit jacket, draping it over a chair. His movements were controlled, deliberate. He loosened his tie, and Maya glimpsed more tattoo ink disappearing beneath his collar. She'd traced those tattoos with her fingers, with her lips, had learned what each represented in his organization's hierarchy. Wine? He asked, moving toward the kitchen. Whiskey. His eyebrow rose. She rarely drank hard liquor. But he poured them both glasses of expensive Japanese whiskey neat. Handed her one, then stood by the windows, backlit by the city. I'm sorry, he said finally. For embarrassing you. For exposing you. I know it's not what you wanted. Maya took a long sip, letting the burn anchor her. But you're not sorry for doing it. No. Honest at least. I saw him touching you, calling you sweetheart like he had any right, and something broke. I couldn't. He stopped, jaw working. The only thought in my head was that he needed to know. Everyone needed to know. You're not available. You're not approachable. You're mine. That's primitive logic. Perhaps. He turned to face her fully. But I'm finished apologizing for what I am, Maya. I'm finished pretending I'm civilized regarding you. I'm possessive. I'm territorial. I don't share. And I certainly don't stand by watching other men place their hands on my wife. Even if it costs me my career? Your career will survive. You're brilliant at what you do. People will gossip for a week, maybe 2, then move on. You don't understand how this world operates. No, he agreed. But I understand how my world operates. And in my world, you're now visible, which means you're a target. The words landed like ice water. Maya set down her glass carefully, fingers suddenly unsteady. What do you mean, a target? Park Jae drained his whiskey, then poured another. His back was to her, shoulders tight beneath the white dress shirt. There are people who would use you against me. Who would see you as leverage. That's why I wanted to keep you hidden. Keep you safe. But you just announced our marriage to half of Manhattan's art world. Because keeping you hidden wasn't working. He turned, and the expression on his face made her breath catch. The people I'm worried about, they already knew, Maya. Have known for months. Keeping it secret from your colleagues didn't protect you. It just kept you isolated. Vulnerable. You said you wanted privacy because of your career. I lied. The admission was flat, unapologetic. I wanted privacy because I'm selfish. Because having you was enough and sharing you with the world felt impossible. But then I started receiving reports. People watching you. Following you from your apartment. Cars appearing too frequently near the gallery. Maya's pulse accelerated. What people? What are you discussing? Rival organizations testing boundaries. Determining if the rumors about Park Jae's wife were true. He crossed to her, standing close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Tonight forced my hand, but it would have happened soon regardless. He cupped her face with unexpected gentleness. I needed you visible under my protection publicly, where everyone understands that touching you means war. You're using me as a message. I'm protecting you the only way I know how. In my world, secret relationships make you vulnerable. Acknowledged ones make you untouchable. Maya's mind spun, trying to reconcile this new information with everything she thought she understood. How long have you known about people watching me? 3 weeks. 3 weeks. She jerked away from his touch. You knew for 3 weeks and didn't tell me? I increased your security. Had people on you constantly. You were never in danger. That's not the point. You withheld information that directly affected my safety. Because you would have panicked. Made it harder to protect you. Made it harder for you to control me, you mean. Anger surged hot and bright. This is exactly why I wanted boundaries, Jae. This right here. You making unilateral decisions about my life because you think you know better. I do know better about this world. About these threats. It's not your decision to make alone. His jaw clenched, that muscle jumping when he fought his temper. You're right. I should have told you. But I'm not sorry for protecting you in the way I thought best. Even if it meant lying? Even then. The honesty shouldn't have hurt as much as it did. Maya moved to the windows, needing distance, needing air, even though they were 35 floors up. The city sprawled below, millions of people living their normal lives. She'd been one of them yesterday. Today, she was the mob boss's wife, exposed and vulnerable, and apparently under surveillance. Who's watching me? She asked quietly. Specifically. She heard him move behind her, felt his presence like heat against her back. Yakuza mostly. They're expanding territory, testing boundaries. Your existence gives them leverage they didn't have before. Yakuza. Like actual Japanese organized crime. Yes. And they know about me because I've been territorial enough that people notice. Because I've turned down meetings, changed schedules, reorganized my priorities around keeping you separate. His breath stirred her hair. The more I tried to hide you, the more obvious it became that I had something worth hiding. Ironic, isn't it? Maya pressed her forehead against the cold glass. I don't know how to do this. Be your wife publicly. Navigate your world. I'm an art curator, Jae. I know Basquiat and Kusama, not territorial disputes and organized crime. You don't have to know those things. You just have to be you. His hands settled on her shoulders, thumbs stroking the tense muscles of her neck. I'll handle the rest. That's what I'm afraid of. You handling things. Making decisions. Controlling everything. Would you prefer I let you walk around unprotected? Let the Yakuza test whether you're valuable enough to grab? She spun to face him, his hands falling away. I'd prefer you treat me like a partner instead of property. Give me information. Let me make informed choices. Trust me to handle knowing the truth. Something shifted in his expression. A crack in the controlled facade. I trust you, Maya. With everything except your own safety. That I can't risk. You have to, or this doesn't work. It's working now. No, it's not. She gestured between them. This is me angry and you defensive. This is the same fight we've been having for 8 months in different variations. You want to possess and protect. I want partnership and autonomy. Neither of us is getting what we need. Silence stretched between them, heavy with things unsaid. Finally, Park Jae moved to the couch, sitting with his elbows on his knees, head in his hands. The gesture was so uncharacteristic, so vulnerable, that Maya's anger faltered. I don't know how to do this differently, he said, voice muffled. Protecting people is what I do. It's how I show love, how I prove worth. He looked up at her, and his eyes were raw. You're the most important thing in my life, Maya. The only purely good thing. The thought of someone hurting you because of me, he couldn't finish. Maya's throat tightened. She'd married this dangerous, complicated, possessive man knowing what he was. Had fallen for him despite, or maybe because of, his intensity. But love and compatibility weren't the same thing. "I don't need you to protect me from everything," she said softly. "I need you to be honest with me. To let me in. To trust that I'm strong enough to handle your world." "You're strong enough." "That's not the question." "Then what is?" His eyes met hers, dark and haunted. "Whether I'm strong enough to risk you." The vulnerability in his voice cracked something open in Maya's chest. She crossed to the couch, sitting beside him but not touching. The space between them felt vast and intimate simultaneously. "You already risk me," she said. "Every day I'm married to you, I'm at risk." Hiding it didn't change that. "You just said so yourself." "I know." His hands clenched into fists on his thighs. "Logically, I know. But logic and feeling are different things." "What are you feeling right now?" He was quiet so long she thought he wouldn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough. "Terrified. Furious. Possessive beyond reason." He turned his head to look at her. "I'm so in love with you it's destroying me from the inside out." Maya's breath caught. They'd said the words before. "I love you" exchanged in darkness, in passion, in quiet moments. But this felt different. Stripped bare and honest in a way that hurt. "I love you too," she whispered. "Even when you make me crazy. Even when you're overbearing and controlling and impossible. That's most of the time." "I know." She reached for his hand, threading her fingers through his. "But I also know you're loyal. Protective of the people you love. That you honor your word. That underneath everything, you're good, Jae." His laugh was bitter. "I'm many things, Maya. Good isn't one of them. You are to me." She squeezed his hand. "To your mother, your sister, your people. You protect them. Provide for them. That's good. I've killed men." The words hung in the air, stark and unavoidable. They'd never discussed this directly before, his hands and what they'd done. Maya had known, of course. Had suspected. But hearing him say it was different. "For what reason?" she asked, keeping her voice steady. "Betrayal mostly. Threats against family. Once because a man hurt someone under my protection." His eyes searched hers. "Does that change things? Knowing for certain?" Maya considered, really thought about it. The man beside her had blood on his hands, violence in his history. He ran an organization that operated outside the law, that dealt in things she probably didn't want to know about. But he'd also held her adoptive grandmother's hand at her funeral, speaking Korean to comfort the elderly woman in her final days. Had paid for his mother's medical treatments without hesitation. Had been unfailingly gentle with his younger sister, protective without being controlling with her. He'd been passionate and intense, possessive but never cruel. He'd listened when she talked about art for hours. Had learned artists' names and movements just to understand what she loved. "It doesn't change things," she said finally. "I married you knowing what you were. Maybe not the specifics, but the reality. I'm not naive, Jae. I chose you anyway." "Why?" The question was raw, almost desperate. "You could have anyone. Someone safe, respectable. Why choose this?" "Because underneath everything, you see me. Not just the curator or the polished professional. You see the black girl adopted into a Korean family who never quite fit anywhere. Who learned Korean to feel connected to something. Who uses art to make sense of a world that doesn't always make sense." She moved closer, their shoulders touching. "You see all of me and want me anyway. That's rare." His free hand came up to cup her face, thumb stroking her cheekbone. "I don't just want you. I need you. Like breathing." "That's intense." "I'm an intense person." His slight smile was self-deprecating. "You knew that too." "I did." She leaned into his touch. "But I need you to work with me, not just protect me. Let me be part of decisions, even the dangerous ones." "That goes against every instinct I have." "I know. But relationships are compromise, right? You're compromising your need to control everything. I'm compromising my need for complete independence." "Is that what we're doing? Compromising?" "Trying to." She studied his face, the sharp angles, the scar through his eyebrow, the tattoo on his neck that marked him as dangerous. Tonight was a disaster. But maybe it needed to happen. Maybe we needed to stop pretending we could keep these separate lives forever. Park Jae pulled her closer until she was tucked against his side, his arm around her shoulders. She fit there perfectly. Had from the first time he'd held her. I'm sorry I didn't tell you about the surveillance. About the threats. You're right. You deserve to know. Thank you. She rested her head against his shoulder. And I'm sorry I've been so resistant to integrating our lives. I was scared of losing myself in your world. You could never lose yourself. You're too strong for that. They sat in silence for a while, the city glittering beyond the windows. Maya felt exhaustion pulling at her, the emotional whiplash of the evening catching up. Her phone had stopped buzzing, probably because it died. What happens now? She asked. Practically speaking. Now, Park Jae's hand stroked her arm, soothing. Now you move in here permanently. We stop maintaining your apartment. You wear your ring always. I introduce you properly to my organization, my family. You become publicly and obviously mine. That's a lot of change very fast. We've been married 8 months. This should have happened 8 months ago. Your mother is going to have opinions. My mother will be thrilled. She's been asking when she gets to meet you properly since the wedding. He pressed a kiss to the top of her head. Sujin too. She's excited to have a sister. Maya smiled despite everything. She'd met his mother and sister exactly once, briefly at the wedding ceremony. I barely speak enough Korean for a proper introduction. Your Korean is beautiful and they'll love you regardless. His voice held certainty. How could they not? Because I'm American. Because I'm black. Because I pulled you into a secret marriage that probably insulted them. Because you make me happy. That's all that matters to them. Maya wanted to believe him. What about the Yakuza situation? The threats? Tomorrow I call a meeting with my council. We discuss strategy. You'll be there. She pulled back to look at him. Really? You want partnership? That means being part of these discussions. Understanding threats. Making informed decisions. His expression was serious. But Maya, you have to understand. My world is violent. What you see, what you hear, it might change how you think of me. Or it might help me understand you better. Morning came too soon. Pale March light filtering through windows. Maya had forgotten to close the curtains on. She woke in Park Jae's bed, their bed now, she supposed wrapped in sheets that smelled like sandalwood and him. The space beside her was empty but still warm. She found him in the kitchen, dressed in dark slacks and a white shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. Traditional Korean breakfast spread across the counter: rice, kimchi, various banchan in small dishes. He was plating grilled mackerel when she appeared. You cooked? Her voice was rough with sleep. I cook. He glanced up, and something heated in his expression as he took her in, his shirt from last night hanging loose on her frame, her hair tangled, bare legs. Coffee's ready. Sit. Maya poured herself a cup, added cream, then settled at the counter. The domesticity felt surreal after last night's chaos. You didn't have to do all this. I wanted to. He set a plate in front of her, perfectly arranged. You need to eat. It's going to be a long day. Her stomach churned at the reminder. The meeting with your council? At noon. My mother wants us for dinner tonight. Sujin's already texted me 4 times this morning about meeting you properly. He sat beside her with his own plate. And your gallery director called my office at 7 a.m. Maya's hand froze halfway to her mouth. Veronica called you? Wanted to ensure you were all right and discuss your employment status. His tone was carefully neutral. I told her you'd call when you were ready. What did she say about my employment? That she understands this is a difficult personal time, and the gallery fully supports you taking whatever time you need. He paused. She was very diplomatic. Very careful. Which meant Veronica was terrified of offending Park Jae. Maya set down her chopsticks, appetite gone. She's going to fire me. She's not going to fire you. You're too valuable. I'm a liability now. The mob boss's wife curating exhibitions. That's not the image Apex wants. Park Jae's jaw tightened. Then Apex is short-sighted. Your work speaks for itself. My work gets overshadowed when my husband creates scenes at gallery openings. She immediately regretted the words when his expression shuddered. I'm sorry. That came out wrong. No. You're right. He stood abruptly, carrying his barely touched plate to the sink. I cost you your career. Add it to the list of things I've ruined. Maya followed, catching his arm. Hey, I didn't mean. You did, and you should. He turned, and the vulnerability in his eyes made her chest ache. I was selfish last night. Territorial and possessive. And I didn't think about consequences for you. Just about that man touching what's mine. I'm not. I know you're not a possession. He covered her hand with his. But you're mine, Maya. My wife, my partner, the person I love more than anything. And watching him touch you, call you sweetheart like he had any right, his control cracked. I couldn't think past making sure everyone knew. Everyone understood. You're mine. The possessiveness should have annoyed her. Instead, it sent heat curling through her stomach. You're impossible. I know. He pulled her closer, hands settling on her waist. But I'm your impossible. Unfortunately. But she was smiling, tilting her face up. We're really doing this? No more separate apartments? No more hiding? No more hiding. He kissed her forehead, gentle despite the intensity of his words. You're moving in today. Minjun's already coordinating with a moving company for your apartment. You didn't ask. I'm telling. His smile was slight, challenging. Unless you're going to argue? Maya considered, then shook her head. No point. You've decided. I've decided we're done with half measures. But if you really want to keep the apartment, I don't. The admission felt significant. I want to be here with you. Fully. Something fierce and possessive crossed his features. He kissed her then, deep and claiming, hands tightening on her waist. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. We need to leave in 2 hours, he said roughly. Shower. Get ready. Wear something that says boss's wife. Untouchable. I'm not sure I own anything that says that. Then we'll go shopping after the meeting. He stepped back, releasing her reluctantly. But Maya, the council meeting, what you see today, what you hear. I understand. Your world, your rules. My world, he agreed. But you're part of it now. That means they answer to you too. You're not just my wife. You're Samonim. Boss's wife. That title carries weight. The Korean word felt heavy with responsibility. I don't know how to be that. You'll learn. And I'll be beside you the whole time. He pulled out his phone as it buzzed. Peter's downstairs with your security detail. They'll follow us everywhere from now on. Everywhere? Everywhere. Non-negotiable. He scrolled through messages, frowning. Days running background on everyone who was at the gallery last night. Making sure no one problematic got close. Maya's unease grew. You think someone did? I think we got lucky last night. You were exposed, but surrounded by witnesses. By civilians. That's not when enemies strike. He looked up, eyes dark. They strike when you're vulnerable. Alone. That's why the security. This is really my life now? This is really your life now, he confirmed. Still in? Maya thought about her apartment in the village, small and safe and hers. About gallery openings where she was just a curator. About the careful, controlled life she'd built where everything made sense and nothing was dangerous. Then she thought about the man in front of her, dangerous, complicated, impossibly possessive, who looked at her like she was everything. Who cooked her breakfast and called her Samonim with pride. Who would burn down the world to keep her safe. Still in, she said. But Jae, I need one thing from you. Anything. Honesty. Complete honesty. No more protecting me from information. If there are threats, I need to know. If decisions affect us, we make them together. She held his gaze. Can you do that? He was quiet, clearly struggling. Finally, I'll try. It goes against every instinct, but I'll try. That's all I ask. The social club in Flushing looked unassuming from outside, a modest 2-story building wedged between a Korean barbecue restaurant and a noribang. Inside was different. Traditional Korean decor mixed with modern security systems. Cameras in every corner. Men in suits stationed at strategic points. Maya's heels clicked against hardwood as Park Jae guided her through, his hand possessive on her lower back. Eyes tracked their movement, curious, assessing. She kept her spine straight, chin up, channeling every ounce of professional confidence she'd ever possessed. The conference room on the second floor was all dark wood and leather chairs. 9 men were already seated around the table, ranging from 30s to 70s. They stood as Park Jae entered, bowing with varying degrees of respect. "Gentlemen," Park Jae said in Korean, his tone commanding. "My wife, Maya." Maya bowed properly, the greeting her adoptive grandmother had drilled into her. "Pleased to meet you." "Hello." Surprise rippled through the room. They hadn't expected her to speak Korean. An older man at the head of the table, silver-haired and sharp-eyed, studied her with unconcealed interest. "Park Tae-sung," he introduced himself in English. "Jae's uncle. We've heard much about you." The pause before much was deliberate. Maya met his gaze steadily. "I imagine you have. Especially after last night. Last night was dramatic." Taesung's tone was neutral, but his eyes were cold. "Not typical of my nephew to be so public." "It was necessary," Park Jae said flatly, pulling out a chair for Maya before taking his own seat at the table's head. "Maya is no longer a secret." "That changes things." "It changes many things," another man said. "Younger, maybe 40, with a scar across his jaw. Makes her visible. Vulnerable. Makes her protected," Park Jae corrected. "Attacking her means war. Everyone needs to understand that." "The Yakuza already understand," Taesung said. "They've been testing boundaries for weeks. Your attachment became obvious despite your attempts at discretion." Maya felt Park Jae tense beside her, but kept her own expression neutral. "What kind of testing?" Taesung's eyebrow rose. "Direct, isn't she?" "She's my wife. She has the right to ask questions." Park Jae's tone brooked no argument. "Answer her." "Surveillance primarily," Taesung said, switching to Korean, probably testing if she'd understand. "Vehicles following her from work. Photos taken outside her apartment. One attempted approach in a coffee shop, intercepted by our people." Maya's stomach clenched, but she kept her voice steady, responding in Korean. "When was the coffee shop incident?" 2 weeks ago." She looked at Park Jae, whose jaw was tight. "You said 3 weeks. You said I was never in danger." "You weren't. We had 5 people on you." The approach was stopped before contact. But there was an attempt. She turned back to Taesung, still speaking Korean. "What did they want?" "Confirmation you were his wife." "Leverage assessment." Taesung looked almost impressed now. "Your Korean is better than expected. My grandmother insisted." Maya folded her hands on the table, projecting calm she didn't feel. "So the Yakuza know about me. What's their play?" "Uncertain," another council member said. "They're expanding territory in Queens, challenging our businesses. A boss's wife is potential leverage, but also a declaration of war target. They're weighing options." "We need to remove the uncertainty," Park Jae said. "Make it clear Maya is untouchable. That any move against her brings full retaliation." "By making her public, you've done that," Taesung said. "But you've also made her an irresistible target. Every enemy now knows exactly how to hurt you." The words hung heavy. Maya felt the weight of every eye in the room, assessing whether she was weakness or strength, liability or asset. "I have an idea," she said quietly. Park Jae turned to her. "Maya, hear me out." She addressed the table, forcing herself to sound confident. "They're watching me, testing boundaries. So let's give them something to watch. I have a gallery exhibition scheduled in 2 weeks. Korean contemporary artists. High profile. What if we use it as a trap?" Silence. Then Taesung laughed, sharp and surprised. "You want to bait the Yakuza with an art show? I want to bait them with me. Public event, controlled environment, everyone expecting me to be there. We can control variables, have security in place. If they're going to make a move, better on our terms than theirs." "Absolutely not." Park Jae's voice was flat. "You're not bait. I'm already bait. I became bait the moment we married." She turned to face him. "This way, we choose the time and place. We're prepared. It's smarter than waiting for them to choose. It's too dangerous. Everything is dangerous now." She kept her voice level despite her racing heart. "At least this way, I'm not just waiting to be a victim. I'm participating in my own protection." Taesung was watching their exchange with interest. "She has a point. Reactive defense is weaker than proactive offense. You're seriously considering this?" Park Jae looked around the table in disbelief. I'm considering, Taesung said carefully, that your wife is smarter than you gave her credit for. And that a public trap, properly executed, could solve multiple problems. Draws the Yakuza out, demonstrates our strength, shows that threats against family have consequences. And puts Maya directly in harm's way. I'm already in harm's way, Maya repeated. This just gives us control. Park Jae's hands clenched on the armrests. She could see him warring between logic and instinct, between strategic advantage and protective fury. Finally, he turned to her, voice low and dangerous. If we do this, you follow every security protocol. You don't deviate. You don't improvise. You trust the people protecting you. Understood? Understood. And if anything feels wrong, we abort. No heroics. No heroics, she agreed. He stared at her a long moment, then looked back at Taesung. Plan it. But Maya's safety is non-negotiable. I want 20 people minimum. Perimeter security, close protection, backup teams. The gallery gets swept daily for a week prior. Every guest gets vetted. Agreed, Taesung said. He was studying Maya with new respect. You might actually survive this family. That's the plan, Maya said, managing a smile despite her pounding heart. The next 2 weeks blurred into strange new reality. Maya moved into the penthouse completely, her belongings mixing with Park Jae's until the space felt genuinely shared. Her books filled his shelves. Her coffee maker claimed counter space. Her artwork added color to minimalist walls. Security became her shadow. Minjun or Dae accompanied her everywhere, to the gallery, to coffee runs, to the grocery store. At first it felt suffocating. By the second week, she barely noticed them. The gallery situation resolved unexpectedly. Veronica called 3 days after the incident, her tone carefully professional. Maya, we'd like you to stay on as an independent consultant. It allows you more flexibility and maintains your connection to Apex. Translation: you're too connected to dangerous people to be full-time staff, but we can't afford to lose you entirely. Maya accepted. It was more than she'd expected. The exhibition planning became elaborate theater. The gallery was swept for devices daily. Guest lists were cross-referenced against known Yakuza associates. Security protocols were disguised as standard high-profile event procedures. Park Jae was everywhere and nowhere, managing details obsessively while trying not to smother her. She caught him watching her constantly, that intense focus that made her feel seen and possessed simultaneously. You need to sleep, she told him one night, finding him at his laptop at 2 a.m. reviewing security footage. I need to keep you safe. You've hired 20 people to keep me safe. Come to bed. He let her pull him away from the screen, into the bedroom, into her arms. They made love slowly, desperately, his hands mapping her body like he was memorizing every inch. If anything happens to you, he started afterward, his face buried in her neck. Nothing will happen. She stroked his hair, feeling the tension in his shoulders. We have a plan. We're prepared. Plans fail. Then we improvise. She tilted his face up to meet his eyes. I'm not fragile, Jae. I'm not going to break. You're everything, he said simply. If I lose you, I lose everything. The weight of being someone's everything was terrifying and precious. Maya kissed him instead of answering, pulling him closer, trying to anchor them both. The night of the exhibition arrived cold and clear. Maya dressed carefully, a deep sapphire dress that said confidence, said power, said I'm not afraid. Diamond earrings Park Jae's mother had sent over that morning with a note in Korean. For my daughter. Wear them proudly. Park Jae wore all black, severe and beautiful, his tattoo visible above his collar. A statement. A warning. Ready? He asked, adjusting her necklace with gentle fingers. Ready. The Mercedes motorcade to the gallery was excessive, 3 vehicles, 8 security personnel. Minjun rode in front, weapon visible under his jacket. Dae coordinated from the second car. The gallery was already filling when they arrived. Maya scanned faces, looking for threats, for anything out of place. Everything looked normal. Perfect. Too perfect. Park Jae's hand found hers, squeezed once. His security team dispersed strategically, becoming part of the background while watching everything. The first hour passed smoothly. Collectors examined art. Champagne flowed. Conversations hummed at appropriate volumes. Maya played her role, knowledgeable curator, gracious hostess, Park Jae's wife, standing visibly at his side. Then she saw her. A woman in her 30s, elegant in a black cocktail dress, Japanese features, moving through the crowd with predatory grace. Two men flanked her at a distance, close enough to respond, far enough to appear casual. Maya's pulse spiked. She leaned toward Park Jae, voice low. 10 o'clock. Woman in black. That's Akiyama Yuki. His voice was flat, deadly. Yakuza lieutenant. She shouldn't be here. She got through security. The guest list was vetted. She wasn't on it. His hand tightened on her waist. Minjun. Minjun materialized instantly. Park Jae spoke in rapid Korean. Minjun nodded, disappearing into the crowd. More security personnel shifted position, tightening the perimeter around Maya. Yuki was moving toward them now, wine glass in hand, smile pleasant. She stopped 10 feet away, the two men closing ranks behind her. Park Jae, she said, her English accented but clear. What a beautiful exhibition. Your wife has excellent taste. This is a private event. You're not welcome. The gallery is public tonight. Open to art enthusiasts. Her eyes slid to Maya, assessing. You must be the famous Mrs. Park. I've heard so much about you. Maya's mouth was dry, but she kept her voice steady. I wasn't aware my reputation extended to the Akiyama family. Surprise flickered across Yuki's face, Maya knowing who she was, speaking directly rather than hiding behind Park Jae. Your reputation extends quite far, Mrs. Park. A curator who married into the Park family. Fascinating choice. I married a man I love. His family came with the package. Maya felt Park Jae's tension like a live wire beside her. But I don't believe you're here to discuss my marriage. No. Yuki sipped her wine. I'm here to appreciate art. And to deliver a message. Then deliver it and leave, Park Jae said, his voice carrying an edge that made nearby conversations falter. The message is simple. Territory is changing in Queens. Business arrangements need renegotiation. Your family has been resistant to discussions. Her smile turned sharp. I thought perhaps a more personal approach might open dialogue. If you think threatening my wife opens anything but war. I'm not threatening anyone. I'm simply admiring art at a public event, alongside your lovely wife who was so kind to curate this exhibition. Yuki's eyes locked on Maya. Beautiful pieces. That Park piece especially. The one about violence and consequences. Powerful work. The words were layered with meaning. Maya felt ice slide down her spine. You've made your point, Park Jae said. Now leave. Of course. Yuki set down her wine glass carefully. Enjoy your evening, Mrs. Park. I hope to see more of your work very soon. She turned smoothly, her guards flanking her as she moved toward the exit. Minjun and Dae shadowed them out. The moment the door closed behind her, Park Jae pulled Maya toward the back office. We're leaving now. The exhibition is over. That was a threat, Maya. Direct and clear. I know what it was. Her hands were shaking now, adrenaline crashing through her. She got through security. How? Fake credentials. Stolen invitation. Park Jae was already on his phone, barking orders in Korean. Someone inside helped her. We'll find out who. The office door burst open. Minjun entered, weapon drawn, eyes scanning. Boss, we have a problem. 2 vehicles outside blocking the street. 4 men in each. Yakuza. Confirmed. Park Jae's face went cold, expressionless in a way that was more terrifying than anger. How many of ours? 12 inside, 6 outside. They're outnumbered but positioned. Call Taesung. Full response team now. He turned to Maya, gripping her shoulders. Listen to me carefully. You stay with Minjun and Dae. You do exactly what they say. You don't hesitate. You don't question. Understood? What are you going to do? End this. He kissed her hard, fast. I love you. Remember that. Jae. But he was already moving, Minjun following, leaving Dae positioned at the door. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. Through the office window, she could see gallery guests starting to sense something wrong. Conversations dying. People moving toward exits. Dae's radio crackled. Hostile movement. South entrance. Then gunfire. 3 shots, sharp and unmistakable. Screaming erupted in the gallery. Dae grabbed Maya, pulling her away from the window, positioning himself between her and the door. "Stay down," he ordered, weapon drawn. More shots. Shouting in Japanese and Korean. Maya pressed against the wall, her mind racing. This was real. Actually happening. People could die. Park Jae could die. Because she'd suggested using herself as bait. The door exploded inward, not kicked, blown, the lock shattered. One of Yuki's men entered, gun raised. Dae fired twice. The man went down. Another appeared in the doorway. Dae moved to fire, but Maya saw the second man behind him, weapon aimed at Dae's back. "Behind you!" she screamed. Dae spun, but not fast enough. The shot caught him in the shoulder, spinning him sideways. Maya grabbed the heavy glass sculpture from the desk, a piece by one of her artists, solid and weighted, and threw it with all her strength. It hit the second man in the face. He stumbled backward, blood streaming. Dae fired from the ground. The man dropped. "Go!" Dae gasped, clutching his shoulder. "Back exit. Now." Maya hesitated only a second, then ran. Through the back hallway, past storage rooms, toward the emergency exit she'd walked 100 times. Behind her, more gunfire, more shouting, the building's alarm shrieking. She burst through the exit into the alley. Cold air hit her lungs. A black Mercedes was already there, Minjun at the wheel, passenger door open. "Get in." Maya dove into the car. Minjun peeled out before she'd even closed the door, tires screaming against asphalt. Through the rear window, she saw figures emerging from the building. Couldn't tell who was friend or enemy. Jae, her voice cracked. "Alive. Fighting. Taesung's team is 2 minutes out." Minjun's voice was steady despite the chaos. "Boss wanted you clear before he engaged fully. People are dying because of me. People are dying because the Yakuza declared war." Minjun took a corner hard and Maya braced against the door. This was coming regardless. "You just gave us the time and place." Her phone buzzed. Park Jae's name flashing. She answered with shaking hands. "Maya." His voice was rough, strained. "You're clear?" "I'm with Minjun." "Are you hurt?" "Nothing serious." Gunfire crackled in the background. "Stay with Minjun. He's taking you to my mother's house in Fort Lee. You'll be safe there." "What about you?" "I'm finishing this." His voice turned deadly soft. "They came into your gallery. Threatened you in front of me. Shot my people. They don't get to walk away from that. Don't do something you can't take back. I'm doing exactly what needs to be done. This ends tonight, Maya. One way or another." More shouting. A burst of gunfire. "I have to go. I love you." The line went dead. Minjun drove like a man possessed, weaving through Manhattan traffic onto the George Washington Bridge. Maya's mind replayed everything: Yuki's smile, the gunfire, Dae bleeding, throwing that sculpture, running. Her sapphire dress was torn at the hem. Her heels lost somewhere in the chaos. "Dae," she said suddenly. "He was shot." "Did he?" "Alive. Ambulance on scene." Minjun's jaw was tight. "He'll be fine. Tough bastard." They arrived at a modest house in Fort Lee 40 minutes later. Lights blazed inside. The door opened before they reached it. A small Korean woman in her 60s, elegant in casual clothes, face creased with worry. "Salmonim," Minjun said respectfully. "I've brought her." Park Jae's mother's eyes swept over Maya, torn dress, bare feet, visible trembling. She said something sharp in Korean to Minjun, then pulled Maya inside, arms surprisingly strong around her. Come. You're safe now." Her English was heavily accented. "My foolish son. Always violence. Always danger." She guided Maya to a couch, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. "But you're safe. I protect you now." A younger woman appeared, Sujin, Park Jae's sister, barely 20. "Yoni," she said, using the Korean term for older sister. She dropped beside Maya, taking her hands. "Are you hurt? Did anyone hurt you?" "I'm okay. I'm not hurt." Maya's voice sounded distant to her own ears. But he's handling business. His mother pressed a cup of tea into her hands. Drink. Breathe. He will come home. He always comes home. Maya drank mechanically, the tea burning her throat. His mother sat beside her, one arm around her shoulders, murmuring in Korean, half prayer, half comfort. Sujin held her hand, young face fierce with determination. An hour passed, then two. No calls, no updates. Just waiting. Finally, at nearly 2 a.m., headlights swept through the window. His mother was at the door instantly. Park Jae entered and Maya's heart lurched. He was covered in blood, his shirt torn, face cut, knuckles split, but alive. Moving. His eyes found hers immediately across the room. Maya. She was off the couch and across the room before conscious thought, throwing herself into his arms despite the blood, despite everything. He caught her, held her so tight she couldn't breathe. You're alive, she sobbed against his chest. Always. I'll always come back to you. His mother ushered them into the bathroom, efficient and maternal despite the blood. She cleaned Park Jae's cuts with practiced hands while Sujin hovered anxiously. Maya sat on the edge of the tub, unable to look away from him. It's over, he said quietly, wincing as his mother dabbed antiseptic on the cut above his eye. Yuki and her team. Dealt with. Maya's voice was hollow. Dead. He met her eyes steadily. All of them. The Yakuza leadership is calling for negotiations. They want peace. Maya should have felt something: horror, disgust, fear. Instead, she felt only exhausted relief. And our people? Day is in surgery but stable. 2 others injured, non-critical. No casualties on our side. His jaw tightened. 6 civilians injured in the panic. None seriously, but that's on me. I suggested the trap. That's on me. That's on the Yakuza for starting a war. He caught her hand despite his mother's tutang. You didn't pull triggers, Maya. They did. His mother said something sharp in Korean. Park Jae responded, and they argued briefly before she threw up her hands and left, Sujin trailing behind with a final worried glance at Maya. Alone, the bathroom suddenly felt too small. You killed people tonight, Maya said. Not a question. Yes. No hesitation, no softening. I told you what I am. This is that reality. I know. She moved closer, taking the antiseptic and bandages from where his mother had left them. Let me. He sat still as she finished cleaning his wounds, cataloging the damage: split knuckles, bruised ribs visible through his torn shirt, that cut above his eye. Evidence of violence. Of the man he was when protecting what was his. Are you afraid of me now? He asked quietly. Maya considered the question seriously. She'd heard him shoot someone tonight. Not directly, but she'd heard it, knew what he'd done. He'd killed multiple people, ended lives without hesitation. No, she said finally, applying a bandage to his eyebrow. I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid of losing you. There's a difference. You might still lose me. This life doesn't come with guarantees. No life does. She set aside the medical supplies, settling between his knees. But I'd rather have uncertain years with you than safe decades with someone else. His arms came around her, pulling her close. They sat like that for a long moment, breathing together, letting the adrenaline slowly fade. 3 months, Park Jae said eventually. I want you to take 3 months away from anything dangerous. Let things settle. Let the peace with the Yakuza solidify. Stay home. Stay safe. I'm not hiding for 3 months. Not hiding. Just being careful. His hand stroked her back. Please, Maya. For me. I need to know you're safe while I rebuild security protocols. She wanted to argue, but exhaustion was pulling at her. Okay, 3 months. But then we figure out how I live in your world without being locked away. Deal. 3 months later, Maya stood in the same penthouse, but everything had changed. The city spread below her in early June sunshine, spring finally giving way to summer warmth. She pressed a hand to her stomach, still flat, but not for long. The pregnancy test had shown positive a week ago. She hadn't told him yet, waiting for the right moment. Park Jae entered the penthouse, home early from a meeting. His face had healed completely, no visible scars from that night. But something had changed in him too, a heaviness, an awareness of mortality he hadn't carried before. "You're home early," she said. "Missed you." He kissed her, and she tasted coffee and something sweet. "How was your day?" "Productive. Veronica wants me to curate a summer exhibition." I said yes. "Good. You've been restless." He studied her face. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong." She took his hand, guided it to her stomach. "Something's very right, actually." Confusion, then understanding, then shock rippled across his features. "Maya, I'm pregnant." "About 6 weeks." He froze completely, hand splayed across her stomach. Then, in Korean, "Really? Really?" She covered his hand with hers. "We're having a baby." The tears surprised her, sliding down his face unchecked as he dropped to his knees, pressing his forehead against her stomach. "My baby?" "Mine." "Ours," she corrected, stroking his hair. "We're going to be parents." He looked up at her, face wet, expression raw with emotion. "I don't know how to do this. Be a father. Keep both of you safe in this world. We'll figure it out together," she said. "Like we've figured out everything else." "I love you." He kissed her desperately. "Both of you. So much it terrifies me." "I love you too. Even when you're terrifying." They stood like that, wrapped in each other, until his phone buzzed. Work. Always work. But this time, he ignored it. Choosing her. Choosing them. 6 months after the gallery incident, they attended a new exhibition opening. Same gallery, different world. Maya moved through the crowd confidently, visibly pregnant now at 4 months. Wedding ring prominent, Park Jae's hand possessive on her waist. She saw people whisper, recognized the mix of fascination and fear in their eyes. The mob boss's wife. The curator who'd survived a shootout. The woman who'd chosen danger over safety. A young collector approached, clearly interested in discussing a piece. He opened his mouth. "Sweetheart, I was thinking." Park Jae's hand tightened warningly on her waist. The collector's eyes went wide, registering his mistake, backing away with stammered apologies. Maya bit back a smile. "You're impossible." "I'm yours," he corrected. "There's a difference." His hand moved to her stomach, protective and possessive. "And you're mine. Both of you. Forever." "Forever," she agreed, leaning into him. "I wouldn't have it any other way." 2 years later, Maya stood in her own gallery, a gift from Park Jae, though she'd insisted on earning every piece through her own curation. Their daughter, Ji-hai, was asleep in her father's arms as he stood guard near the entrance, watching his wife work the room with the same possessive intensity as always. A young male artist approached Maya to discuss his work. Before he could speak, Park Jae materialized beside her, baby still sleeping peacefully against his chest. "Can I help you?" His tone was polite. His eyes were not. The artist wisely redirected his question through Maya in the most professional manner possible. Later, in the car ride home, Maya laughed. "You scared that poor boy half to death." He was standing too close. Park Jae adjusted their sleeping daughter carefully. "Ji-hai needs to learn early. Her mother is mine. Our daughter is 2 weeks old. I don't think she's taking notes on territorial behavior. Never too early to learn." He reached for Maya's hand, brought it to his lips. "You're mine. She's mine. This life is mine. I don't apologize for protecting what's precious." Maya looked at her husband, dangerous, possessive, impossibly hers, and their perfect daughter sleeping peacefully despite her father's violent world. "We're yours," she agreed softly. "Always." And she meant it. Want more forbidden romances with possessive alphas who'll burn the world down for their women? Subscribe now and never miss a story. Drop a comment telling us, Team Possessive Boss or Team Secret Marriage.